A VP of marketing recruited me. I don't blame him. I massively blame myself for not asking the right questions. I think at this point in my career, I was like arrogant and thought that I could turn water into wine no matter what I was there to sell. It went down in flames.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scott Leese to the show.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on your show. I can't wait to listen to all of your other episodes. I've been a startup sales leader for the better part of about 20 years now. I've been a VP of sales a half dozen times. A couple years ago, I started my own consulting and advisory company and see how many different streams of revenue I can come up with and not work myself too hard in the process.
So when you think back, when you think about one of your biggest missteps, what is one that comes to mind, my friend?
The biggest misstep that comes to mind as a sales leader and a job interviewer is just failing so hard to properly vet an opportunity that I took a VP of sales job at. And I should have known better because I was kind of right smack dab in the middle of my career. I have to rewind the tape about 12 years or so and was making the move from one place to the next. Didn't get a bump in a title change, but got a significantly higher salary, significantly higher OTE, and got this mystical, magical thing called equity, which was a little bit difficult for me to get in the prior role that I was at. So it was the right decision to leave the place that I was departing from. It was a really bad decision to go where I went. And I only lasted there about 8 months. Everywhere else, I've been at least 2.5 to 3 years every single time and kind of doubled up that, average VP of sales tenure, but not this one. It went down in flames.
This is interesting because you're experienced at this point. This isn't your first rodeo.
No.
Do these people find you? Do you find them? How did that go down?
Yeah, it was a VP of marketing that I had worked with before was working there. He recruited me and thought that I would be a good fit for the opportunity. And I don't blame him. I massively blame myself for not asking the right questions. I think at this point in my career, I was like arrogant and thought that I could turn water into wine no matter what I was there to sell. And this place that I was going seemed like a little bit more of a step up. So I didn't ask the same kinds of questions. Like, is the product go-to-market ready? Do we even know what we want our product to be, or are we still trying to figure it out? Like I made assumptions that the answers were yes to all of these things. Thankfully, after I screwed this up, the next ones I made much better decisions, but I should have known better. I got seduced a little bit by the compensation structure. I tricked myself into thinking, like I said, that, I was good enough that I could just make this thing fly no matter what. And I only needed a little bit of information. Not the right evaluation criteria whatsoever. That whole experience really caused me to think a lot more critically about okay, where am I going to go and why? And what is this opportunity actually going to be like? Luckily, I learned from it.
At what point did you realize, how far in were you were like, I made a bad move here?
I think I knew within the first 6 weeks, to be honest with you. And I stayed there partly out of trying to make something work and partly out of comfort and laziness, to be honest with you. So I knew early on, just the way that we were communicating internally and the team that I had inherited. This is another thing that was a problem. I inherited people and had no ability to change them out when I didn't think that they were doing what they should have been doing. There was nepotism involved where 2 of the sales reps I inherited were buddies with the CEO. Just a nightmare situation. So I knew quickly, whoa, we can't get anything done.
So you're there, you realize within the first 6 to 8 weeks, this is messed up. You decide that you're going to try to make the best of it. I'm curious, in that moment of, to sayonara, mofo, yeah, which I know you felt that way because I know you. What were the things that you did to give yourself an insurance policy, as much as you can have one, to know that you are showing up for yourself to get it right the next time? What did you do specifically to figure that out in those 8 months?
I actually took pretty good detailed notes at the time of what was busted. And if I was running this company, here's all the things that I think have gone wrong. And my own analysis, if you will, of, okay, here's what I need to make sure doesn't exist wherever I go next. Number two, this was the part of my life where I actually started building a network. So I decided that my current network had run its course, if you will, and was not going to be able to provide me the types of opportunities that I felt like I needed and wanted, and if I'm being honest, deserved. So I had to put myself out there a little bit, adding people on LinkedIn and, trying to find salespeople and CEOs. And I just started getting super active and becoming super accessible. And then I did this little like side hustle thing and this freelancer stuff. This is when I had my first conversation with one of my friends and mentors, this guy named Mike Lindstrom. And I remember calling him and saying, hey, I have this company who's, kind of interested in a consultant and advisor about like how to build and scale inside sales orgs. And I've done this a couple times now. What do you think I should charge? And what would the structure look like? That was a thing. I didn't think I was going to be able to sustain myself and my lifestyle, but it was like, okay, that'll cover the rent. Those three things are the main things that I think about. It's like, I really did like an analysis of here's the stuff that's busted. Therefore you must ask about it from now on.
If you could go back and tell yourself back then what you know now, or for anybody listening, what's the thing that you did after that or still do to this day to make sure that you don't repeat that mistake?
Well, I spend a lot more time vetting the founders in particular. So I really want to know like who they are and what their motivation is, what they're trying to do and why, where they want this to go, how they make decisions, how they empower people or hold on to that power if they're a bottleneck or if they get out of people's way. I tried a lot to understand how humble people were about what they don't know. And, a lot of founders don't know much about sales, especially they have like a finance or engineering kind of background. So I started to gravitate a lot towards people who were like, listen, I don't know shit about this whatsoever. Like, I'm giving it to you and then I'm going to go disappear in the corner. Like, for me, I figured that's what I need. That's what I wanted. I paid a lot more attention to the market conditions and like where this company might go. So I stopped paying attention to, oh shit, that's a $200,000, salary or whatever. Right. And just thinking like literally right in front of me, like, oh yeah, I make 10 grand, 15 grand a month. Awesome. And started thinking more about like, if this does really well, is this $1 billion opportunity or a $500 million opportunity or a $100 million opportunity? And if it does really well, how can I leverage that to get to where I want to go next? I started asking questions about the product in the sense of like, do we have current users of the product? What do those users think of the product? I started asking if I could talk to users and customers of the product. I wanted to know more about customer service and how they were treating the current customers or what that process was going to look like. I cared a lot more about churn than I did about my ability to sell something. I got a lot more unselfish with my approach and what I was there to do. I got more communicative, almost to the point of like hyper communication or over communication about everything, rather than siloing myself off and thinking, it's Scott against the world. Man, I go on and on here, but I started just taking these things a lot more seriously and being way more thoughtful. I never would have done that before. It would have been very whimsical. It would have been like, oh, I had a good conversation with Amy. I think I can sell that product. She's offering me this. That's pretty good money. Let's fucking do it. And that all changed and started to evolve. So big difference in how I went about it.
So as we wrap things up, what are the top maybe 1 to 3 things that you hope anybody hearing this takes away from this discussion?
You have to care a lot more about what's going on in the business and a lot less about just how it pertains to you. That's my number one thing. Number 2, take your time, especially if you are fortunate enough to be able to do so. I feel for people who maybe are needing a paycheck immediately and feel like they can't be as thoughtful, but that's a different conversation. If you're somebody who has the ability to go about a thoughtful process, please do so. Don't just jump at the first thing that looks shiny without doing a real big deep dive on it. Deep dive into who the founder or founders are. into the decision making, into the product, into the customer experience, into how customer service operates. And the third one is not necessarily what we're really focused on here, but it's just the power of a network can't be understated. And I don't care if you're a SDR or you're a VP right now, or you're a founder, like, we have the ability and tools and resources now to connect with so many people so fast. And these people just exponentially expand the number of opportunities that you get. And you don't get that network or those opportunities by reaching out to Amy and demanding things or asking for things all the time. In fact, you get it the opposite way. And if you remember the sort of sign off of my messages, it always says, let me know if I can ever be helpful to you. There's no direct call to action there. There's no ask of somebody else. It's just, what can I do to be helpful? And then when people reach out to you, you actually do that.
Incredible words of wisdom, especially that third point of that's the show, not the tell. And that's what the professional reputation is all about versus personal brand. It's one thing to tell people what you will do or what you could do. It's a very different thing to back it up in practice. And for that, Scott, I can say that you have that mastered and then some. Where can people find you?
The easiest thing to do is just find my profile on LinkedIn. You can see some of the thoughts that I have and share on there. And I respond to everybody who reaches out to me. It takes me a little bit, but I get back to everybody and try to be as helpful as I can. And I got a lot of different resources out there that may or may not make sense depending on what you're up to. So appreciate you having me on, Amy. And, I'm glad I only had to talk about one thing that I shanked and screwed up.
There's always a season 2.
Yeah, season 2's episode will be titled, What Did You Do Wrong This Time?
Now what?
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I will see you next time. This has been Tales from the Field podcast. Scott, Leese, I just love you so much, and I really appreciate this. And so we bid you adieu. Until next time, y'all.
Ciao, everybody.
You've been in sales. I've been in sales. And in sales, it's a journey where we all have stumbled. And it is in these moments where we grow the most. So for anybody listening, I hope that this was helpful. This has been a Sales Feed production. If you're not familiar with all of the fun things that they have up their sleeve, check out salesfeedmedia.com.